So, hello, my name is Tommy Wayne, and basically this video is going to be my Sci-Fi Reacts video. I'm going to get a few things out of the way. If you see me keep looking over to the right, I have all my notes on here, which I'll explain in a second, but I'm using my phone for my notes. As well as my voice is a little raspy. Sorry if I'm hard to understand, but I just came down with a cold. And to explain the notes, basically, really short, I was gonna try to overlay videos, clips of the Rick and Morty episode that I'm choosing to analyze. I was gonna try to put the clips in here so I could talk about them, but it wasn't working. Obviously, it wouldn't let me screen record for pirating issues, and I tried a bunch of different apps, but it wouldn't work. So, I hope you can accept this. I'm just gonna use these notes to analyze. But let's get started. I chose to analyze an episode called The Ricklantis Mix-Up. It's Season 3, Episode 7. And I chose this episode because I was brainstorming, trying to figure out which episode would be best. And this episode immediately came to mind. I think it's pretty... You'll see my notes, but I think it's a very good depiction of a sci-fi TV show episode. But as are all of Rick and Morty episodes, but... You'll see. Okay, so let me get it started. So to begin, immediately in the beginning of the episode, Rick and Morty are confronted by a different Rick and Morty from the Citadel who are asking for donations or something like that. And Rick, quote unquote, says that he killed them all and left them to rot. I think this is an important quote because in this episode you can see that the Citadel is all broken down, it's all on fire, the buildings are destroyed, there's trash everywhere, a bunch of people living on the street. And I think that this is a huge almost principle for science fiction, I guess, content, because in almost all of the shows or movies or even what we read, a lot of it had to do with, or a lot of the settings were broken down and basically just this not desolate, but they were in rough shape, which I think is basically a principle, a main point of most science fiction content. Look at my notes. Okay, so I had that there seems to be, so the Citadel is strictly made up of a million Ricks and a million Mortys. And I think that this is a little bit of a reach, but I would say that this can be connected to in any other science fiction film. How I think it's Blade Runner is what I'm thinking of. But how there's two very different classes or parties of people. A lot of times it's the government, and then whoever, and then I guess I put in here sewer rats, but the people who will retaliate and revolt against this barbaric government that they have. But I connected it to this because in this show, in this episode, there's the normal law-abiding citizens, the Ricks and the Mortys, who just go along with what the government has to say. And then there's a bunch of you see it a million times in the episode where there's a bunch of Mortys living on the street, doing drugs, graffiti, stuff like that. So that's how I would say that's almost the sewer rat, the lowest class. And then above that there's I said, the law-abiding citizens, Ricks and Mortys, who just go along with what the government says, just basically like that. Let me see here. Oh yeah, this is a small thing, but I did notice that, I don't know why for the life of me I can't remember the film that we watched. I want to say it's Blade Runner, but I can't swear, but again, this is a small thing, but I saw that they had flying or hovering cars, and I think that I put this in my notes because in a lot of the films that we watched, there were I said, flying, floating cars. Everything is so futuristic, and I just think it's kind of interesting to see how how that's like almost a constant, excuse me, like a consistent detail that's in almost all of the content that we consume, including this episode that I chose to analyze. Let me see here really quick. Oh yeah, so this is another thing that I guess I could connect back to the different parties. In almost all of the content that we reviewed this semester, the government has almost always been like corrupt and evil. And so I put here, so there's like the Ricks, or there is a Rick that is basically literally like almost enslaved because he's put in this chair reliving like his happiest moment of his life. And I guess like the dopamine, or they just call it like the chemical that it releases, they like put it on this snack, and basically I guess it's like the greatest snack of like the Citadel. But I thought this was important because he's like literally enslaved by the government, because it's like almost single-handedly running the economy that the government obviously cares a lot about. That's all they care about is money. So I put that in here because, yeah, like he's literally enslaved, and in almost all of the other films and shows that we watched, the government has always been corrupt and has always been evil, so I just thought that I could connect that there. Yeah, this goes along with that too, but characters are brainwashed almost. So, like I said earlier, in all of the movies and shows that we watch, and especially this episode, you can see the difference in the characters who are almost brainwashed or just like completely obey the government, not realizing that it's totally wrong and barbaric. And then there's like the ones who the revolt, the sewer rats. Like in one of the films, of course I can't remember it, but they literally lived in the sewers, like underground. But yeah, I just thought that was important, interesting, because I thought that was a good word to use, like brainwashed by the government, because they think that the government is trying to make like life perfect, like better, with no problems for everyone, and so I would say they're basically brainwashing people. Yeah, like I have, and then in here I have. Later in episode, Rick and Morty can be seen driving around and spotting several other Mortys being mischievous. And then, yeah, in other sci-fi shows or movies, there's always a group of delinquents acting up. Again, these are all kind of molding together, but I just thought it was interesting because in one of the scenes in this episode, like you can see the Rick and Morty's the Mortys literally like dealing drugs or doing graffiti. And I just thought that was interesting because, like I say here, like delinquents acting up, which is honestly that's kind of what most of the movies had in them. So I connected that there. Oh yeah, this also kind of connects with the like rundown town city setting, as most science fiction films have. But I said often robberies or some other form of illegal activity taking place. In this episode, it was a corner store, and the police were just like questioning this guy because his like corner store had just been robbed, and it was robbed by the Mortytown Locos. This isn't really an important piece of information, but I put it in here because it connects with like the point that I had just made right before, where there's always a group of delinquents, and in this episode, the group of delinquents was the Mortytown Locos, or one of them, I assume. And then last but not least, yeah, so this kind of goes along with like the corrupt government, but I have often in sci-fi there is someone or a group of people leading the revolt, and in this episode, there's a Morty running for president. Long story short, it's like only Rick's running for president, but there's one Morty, and none of them really respect him. But I think that the Morty in this episode is put there because he's supposed to be like the savior almost, not really, but like he's trying to like save the Citadel and make it great again. But the Ricks that are running for president don't care what they're doing because it's all just like they're just government controlled basically. So that's what I have here. But yeah, try to change the Citadel for the better. So I just have that in there because, like I said, in every film we've had like there's always like that leader of the revolting group, excuse me, who is literally just like leading the fight back, like leading the charge, trying to take back, literally take back like their minds from the government because they've been brainwashed. So that's all I have for my notes. That's really all I have for this video. But to make a few smaller points, I'm sure you've seen Rick and Morty. The entire show is literally science fiction. I mean, he literally has a portal gun that transports them wherever they want. There's different aliens, there's a trillion planets. Like, just all of it is science fiction. So I really think Rick and Morty is a great show to analyze and connect that to, and that's why I chose that. So that's all I got for this video. But thank you for your time, and sorry it wasn't much. I tried to put videos in here, like clips of Rick and Morty, but it just wasn't working. But I hope you can accept this. That's all I got. Thanks.